So, okay, these are the news that made headlines during the course of the past week. So, as Upit Lester has mentioned, Minister Enoch Godongwana did gave us a speech, delivered a speech on the medium-term budget on Wednesday. Many of the opposition parties have really not seen much of a wow factor to his speech.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone through it. I did receive it. However, I haven't had the chance to go through the speech. But I know here in the province, we are going to have, I think this coming week, I stand to be corrected.
Yes.
We are going to have the MEC Finance delivering the midterm budget speech for the province as well. So, yes, we will also be on the lookout for that one. And then UNISA is welcoming a ruling ordering Higher Education Minister
UNISA.
Yes, okay.
UNISA.
Welcoming the Minister of Higher Education, Blades Zimande, to withdraw a notice to place the university.
Oh, yeah. That was quite interesting, that subject. Hector, I'm sure you've been following that. Talk to us about that particular.
Well, I think the reason why it has actually then become so highly profiled is because it looked like the minister was going to act in contempt of court. And go ahead anyway.
And just before you continue there, I thought that was clear. Last week, was it last week? That other week when the court said, it had sort of agreed with the university that the minister must not interfere. And I don't know, and then this week subsequently we saw the minister sort of continuing with this interference. And I was wondering what prompted him to actually go ahead,
Yeah, no, I don't quite understand it myself.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe he thought, okay, fine, even if I don't place the university under administration, still it's a public university and accountable to his department. To his department in any case, I do not know the exact details. Has the minister appealed against that decision?
He hadn't appealed.
No, not as yet.
Okay.
No.
Because maybe that's an option that's open to him, or he might change the terms, as it were, so to speak. I think it's always a bit of a tricky area. Universities are supposed to be accountable. Public universities are supposed to be accountable to DHET. But at the same time, there's the issue of institutional autonomy that's supposed to be respected. So balancing those two things is always a challenge, as it were, because if you don't have institutional autonomy, then education as such will not be what it's supposed to be, because the institutional autonomy is supposed to then cascade down to things like academic freedom and all that sort of thing, which is essential for institutions of higher learning. So it's a bit of a challenge because you are at the same time told, but look, hundreds of millions of public taxpayers' money is pumped into universities. You got to account.
Yeah, and for me, I think the one part for me I wanted to sort of maybe act before we go through Spokey, the meaning of the interference. What does it do to the university? Maybe the impact, which is what the university doesn't want. What kind of meaning when you are put under? We know with the municipalities and all of that, when you put under administration, what sort of happens? In terms of the operations. So does that have an operational impact on the university and the sort of the reputation and so forth?
Well, it does. Obviously, when you put under administration, it means the signal sent out there is that you have proved that you are incapable of running your own affairs. That's number one, and it's usually the level of governance. So the administrator or administrators, if it's more than one appointed, would, as it were, substitute the council. It's a bit like when you substitute the board of a company. Which is the governing structure. So for the duration of the administration, the administrator becomes, in effect, the council.
Yeah.
to which the management and the rest of the operations therefore report and account
okay.
to, and then the administrator gives reports to the minister until they're given. Maybe he might even he have to bring in reforms. Some of them might be policy and so on, until such a time as they've come to a point where they would they are healthy enough for them to be able to put in place a proper structure like a council, and then they carry on. So it does have a very big negative connotation to be placed under administration, because it just means you can't be left to all yourselves to run your affairs.
Wow.
By the way, the first item you started with, I think the biggest issue for many of us was the projected budget cuts.
Yeah.
Because for the last half of the year, I think the projection is that there's going to be like a 20 billion budget cut.
Yeah.
And then a further 120 billion over the next 2 years or something like that. So that was a bit of a shocker, because budgets tend to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than but for some, it's like, look, maybe our government is starting to turn around, because there's always been this talk about an over bloated public service.
Yeah. Yeah.
With so many ministers, so many deputy ministers, and so many functionaries and processes that might not even be relevant for the 21st century modern day state. But the details, if I read well, are probably going to start emerging in the SONA for the
Next year.
Next year, yeah.
Look, I don't know. I'm kind of. I don't think the budget cuts, as it were, are necessarily going to be directed at the public service. I doubt that that will happen, seeing that or considering the fact that we're still going to an election year. So the definite sort of thing that would have happened for budget cuts would have been winning the elections, then speak to that. Otherwise, if I mean, look at the unions. If you are going to start cutting, who are the unions who are going to be affected?
Well, I doubt that it will be jobs. For example, they might merge ministries.
Yeah.
And collapse them and put them under, because just that alone is a significant element.
No, it is a significant element, but you're still now having maintaining those people into, those salaries. I mean, you have DGs and SGs in some of what it's not DGs and DDGs. All of those so they're going to be fused into. So I think as much as the idea of cutting maybe is something that we should be doing, but in order for the economy again to grow, you need to spend. So instead of maybe cutting, there needs to be proper monitoring of where these monies go to, whether or not they are being spent and used properly. But I think what we must do, let's maybe kick this whole thing with the budget this week and prepare for next week. Try and bring someone who will also speak to. Because I think for me, it was one of the most interesting things that happened this week, considering that there are many other elements and angles. The SOEs are also a very big part of, the problems that we have. And then next year, they're talking about tax. All of these things have to be directed somewhere. And where is that in the bigger scheme of things? How do you then begin to cut? I mean, we know that these, the NGOs are also complaining, that is going to impact, the funding and all of those things. So it's quite an interesting thing for us to maybe give a much more better, look into it as we discussed. Spoke.
Yeah, and still on universities, the University of Cape Town has adopted the findings and recommendations on the independent panel investigation on the government's
the one that was led by the retired president of the SCA, Lex Mpati.
Yes.
Yeah, I see that the former vice chancellor
Yeah.
Mamkheti. So she's studying it, and she might.
Yeah, Mamkheti
She
is
might
not
want
happy
to
with
challenge. She's not
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, she's not
with the
happy with it.
outcomes.
Yeah.
Because they talk about bullying based on racial manipulation or something like that, using the race card or something like that. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting though, in the sense that Mamkheti, I mean, has been from when she started, been seen as a kind of a an outstanding sort of citizen, and I don't know whether people have fallen in love with her as a black woman and the way she looks or what, but I know that also there's quite a lot that she has done for disadvantaged students at UCT and so forth. But governance is a different subject, so.
And I think the problem with people generally is that they do what is called bifurcation. They've got an either-or attitude. Whereas a person can actually be many things at the same time.
Yeah.
Without necessarily negating the other, they can also be also other things besides. But abafu nova anything else once babambe narrative they don't want to hear anything else. So it will be interesting to see. Yeah,
it's quite. I mean, what you are saying, it doesn't it go with. For instance, I mean, with any individual, there's a certain aspect that gets exposed to the public.
exactly.
Yes.
And sometimes that aspect is the aspect that the public falls in love with. And then when they hear other things, they can't associate those things with the picture that they already have.
Correct.
I don't know, but it's true what you're saying. So could Mamkheti, and this is for you guys who are also listening, could she be that part or that type of a person in terms of how you see? Maybe you saw her and loved her, but all these other things you then do not associate with her, because really, I mean, governance and leadership in a closed space is something different, because whatever we say out there and the things that she may have done, we don't know what really happened behind the scenes. It's quite interesting.
No, very interesting. Okay, and then we move on.
I think abanye bamthanda because she looks baqonda lokoko.
Fab academic.
Yeah.
You see, that was kind of their brand.
Yeah.
Making it was. I mean, of course, it was a big rallying point for many, especially for the young. Deputy mother. Fab academic, I think they'd even like the 4 a.m. gang, kids would wake up and study at 4 o'clock in the morning. So there's quite a bit, there. But like we're saying, it doesn't necessarily mean she wasn't other things besides that.
Of course.
I don't see a reason not to doubt the competence of person like Lex Mpati.
Yes, no, of course.
Yeah, so we'll see how that pans out.
No, so, yeah, because also when someone is like you're saying behind closed doors, we don't know what they do or their attitudes towards like certain aspects that gets brought up, in the council, yes, university, and but I loved her, and
she's lovable.
she's lovable. You can't but not love her. Everything else, like, you kind of, did it really happen? Did she really take that action? So it's very tricky. It's very tricky. But hopefully, once she started, the outcome, and we'll see what action she takes after that. And then, during the minister's midterm budget speech, it was announced that the municipalities are getting a helping hand when it comes to their ESCOM debt. All ESCOM billions of rands in unpaid power bills. So there's some relief that they're going to be getting.
So it looks like it's government itself that is the biggest
consumer.
and owes the most.
Yes, also
which
debt.
when I heard this, pardon me, guys, I kind of, in a way, does it assist the management and the sort of governance part of it in those municipalities? I mean, does it really? Because we need to speak of consequence management as well.
Exactly.
How then is that? Are they going to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And this is one of the things that I think our government has been suffering with the fact that there's been bailouts. I mean, SOEs, you get bailed out. I mean, writing off debt now, and also not just for the people who are running that municipality, but also for the residents in that municipality.
Yeah.
Do you think that those who are not paying will ever pay again?
No, because it also stagnates them being motivated to collect revenue from the from the ratepayers.
Yeah.
Because municipality are supposed to generate their income from
At
revenue
least
that they
most
collect,
of their
most
income.
of their income, from collecting revenue, and you find that they are not putting proper instruments in place to drive, people paying the rates, them collecting, So I think somehow it doesn't really necessarily help. Yes, it does reduce their, the money that they owe. But for me, it's something that should be the last resort when they've exhausted all options, and you can see that they've tried to collect revenue, because some municipalities or government departments won't pay because they know at some point you're gonna get relief anyway.
Yeah.
You
But
understand?
when I think of it, I always wonder why there is even an arrangement for Umbani to come from ESCOM to a local government entity, let's say
You
BCM.
don't even want to
Then
talk.
we get the citizens of BCM have to get the electricity from.
You
then
don't want to
say- and
get
then you
there.
say Mapandleni, they've got Umbani wakwa ESCOM.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which then of course makes Umbani more expensive for those who
Very
consume it from the
expensive,
municipality, because
yeah.
I assume that the municipalities have got a markup.
Of course.
No, they do have a markup, Actor. The whole thing was to actually create revenue for the
For
municipalities.
municipalities.
Before that, I mean, in the Siskai era, I think that arrangement was standing, but it was not necessarily an arrangement that you paid more money. I know that in the olden era, where the municipalities would come and connect you,
Okay.
and then you will get electricity from the municipality. But I think the government had created this to actually have the municipality have some revenue. And from there, then that is supposed to make the city better, or the municipalities.
But I think they're just many elements. I think of a municipality like ours. I don't have exact facts, but just from anecdotally what I know, this is a metro that's got a very large number of indigent consumers, for example.
Yes.
So the chances of it making the kind of revenue that it requires
they
from
desire.
ratepayers doesn't seem to be very likely, even if their systems were efficient, because of the demographics of this particular metro, as it were. It's not like Johannesburg, which is the commercial hub not only of the country but of Africa. As a metro. If you are comparing them, for example, as metros, they might do so much better in terms of revenue that they're able to more or less sustain themselves. And I imagine Cape Town is the same, but some of the other metros, I think it's always going to be a big ask, I think.
Yeah. Look, I think, I mean, it goes down now to management and the leadership in the municipalities, that actually what they do with that revenue, because that's the biggest question, which I think I've heard a number of times being asked, that profit. So the ESCOM has then upped the electricity by, say, 13 or 14%. And then these guys will then add their own 8% on top of that, So you have a markup on top of a markup that lends to Uspoki, that now Uspoki has to now pay 22% more for Umbane, where initially, if it was straight from ESCOM, she would be paying 14, but now there's an added 8%. But I think there was not necessarily for me a problem with that type of arrangement where the municipalities buy from ESCOM, because imagine if we were buying from Eskom straight, and the problems that then they need to fix. Do you think the turnaround time, if it was Eskom, considering the state of Eskom now, that the turnaround time would still be the same? I don't think so. Even though I think the major problem is not the fixing, it's really the management of these revenues that they get from this. I mean, we know that in our own municipalities, there's been a cry. There was a case around issues that where they now whatever money you pay, and then they deduct from your electricity and all of that. So there's that problem still, and I think that case is still ongoing. That case.
I
So
think they kind of stopped Mosla 80%.
They were stopped.
Yeah, it was stopped.
They're no longer
so they probably stopped because of the case. It's,
it
I
was
think they've
actually-
appealed. Yeah.
Look, no, the point I was making is fine. They get that from Eskom, but if the consumers for whom you are getting to, let's say you've got 1,000 of them, and 700 of them are indigent, ufuneka babe nezaphulelo and so on, you won't realize
Oh yeah.
that markup. So that's what I'm saying. The demographics are important in that sense.
Yeah, because indigent also is not necessarily the suburbs. It's also in the townships where you have families where the kids are no longer there. I mean the parents are no longer there. So then they have to take off a certain amount of money and give them for free. Yeah, I hear you on
So
that.
I think
one.
the rationale for the municipality, why it was my own thinking when they started deducting. I think they were probably kind of saying it's people would see it as better than ukucinyelwa. Because that's what they would do before. They would cut off the electricity. Then ungakwazi notenga the little that you can.
Yeah.
But obviously it's now been challenged, and so they will have to see what else to do.
Okay,
Okay, and then there was a survey done by Stats South Africa called Access to Government Services, where they found that people are using fewer government services now than they did in 2020.
which government services are we talking
Surprised,
to?
eh?
Okay, that I have to go through and just check which one specifically.
Is it the electricity? Because remember, this debate is ongoing in Cape Town. I think Cape Town is moving with speed, though, considering one of the things they're doing, they are subsidizing. They are, in fact, it's not subsidizing more than they're offering an incentive if you have your own sort of electricity that the municipality can buy from you.
Can sell back.
Yeah,
some of your-
so you can sell it back to the municipality. I mean that thing is quite interesting, and I think if it works very well in Cape Town and other municipalities begin to see that as a way of actually avoiding.
Let's find out. I think it's actually here as well. Let's find out.
Yeah. Because I know also even when it comes to water, I mean, some people are actually now, they are fully automated in terms of having their tanks and they have their water pumps in those tanks. So, and some guys,
do that.
yeah, some guys are actually happy to close the municipal tap and leave off. I mean, with the heavy rains that we've been having, I mean, it's probably been good for the guys.
I suppose we should remember that there was something on the cards at some point to find a way of billing people for those water
Yes,
tanks.
there was.
Yeah.
There was something like that. Yeah.
And it might be pushed because South Africa, if you look at the National Water Act, water is a public resource that is held in trust, no matter where it is. You know, whether it's on your private property or whatever. Because South Africa is a water scarce country, which is why you need a water user license for almost any of these uses. Which, of course, and the license is a form of tax
Yeah.
because you actually have to pay for the permit. So by and by they'll figure out how to charge people for that.
But how
water.
did we? I mean, how did we learn there, guys? How did we learn this poke of being water scarce country? I mean,
We are.
I don't know how did we get there?
No, we are. I mean, taken as a country, we are. Because look at the Northern Cape,
I mean,
which is the largest part of it's water scarce. The whole little Karoo, and if you look at it all together, South Africa is a water scarce country.
And this
It's
is
just
the
that we,
strange
we
thing.
happen to live in the part which does not.
Which does not have that problem. No, we really are. I mean, I think East London, and sometimes for me, I find it difficult also with Port Elizabeth, I mean, or Gqeberha to understand.
No,
I really don't understand how
No,
these guys.
That's the part of the
I
country
mean,
which we
like,
live in.
if there's this heavy rains, surely.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know?
we are basking in these heavy rains, and we are tired of it.
And even if you think about the freshwater sources in South Africa,
Yeah.
there are how many major rivers in South Africa? There's the Vaal, there's the
Yeah.
Orange, then there's a couple of others. That's
There's
it.
Buffalo.
That's it.
and
For I'm talking about major rivers. You know. So it's
even our dams. I mean, the dams we've built. You know, there's some massive dams, but not enough of the
there's
dams that we have.
and there probably hasn't been sufficient maintenance of the dams.
I was
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Because
to say
dams
that,
silt,
maintenance.
because of silt, they fill over time,
Yeah.
and then their holding capacity becomes less and less and
Yes,
less and less. They become shallow. You know. So unless you diligently maintain them, that's one of the challenges they had in what's this place, Butterworth.
Yeah, no,
with their
Butterworth.
water,
yeah.
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 Oh my gosh.
Butterworth, I mean, also, and
And
Mthatha
Queenstown.
as
So,
a dam
so
as
even
well.
then, the water source itself was not
But I
maintained.
think, I mean, if we talk of problems, that's also been something that has been flagged nationally, the lack of maintenance of this
Yes.
infrastructure that we currently have,
Generally.
which we know that has led to this problem with the water in Pretoria and all of the other places. We know that also Transnet has been a big sort of flagged because of lack of maintenance of the tracks and even the trains
You
and all
know,
of that jazz.
Just talking about that, yesterday when we were going to the cemetery at West Bank, we used that, there's a road, Uqetapha, Ngase, Correctional Services.
Yeah.
Then you go straight down and then you just drive along the ocean. I haven't been there, I think.
Or as if you're going to the racetrack.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that road. And we're looking at the railway.
Yeah.
It's vandalized. Nothing is happening. And the question that we're asking ourselves is, aba bantu bebedla ngo-maintain apha benza ntoni ngoku?
Yeah. Oh, Lelanduka, nihamba apha ngasezantsi West Bank and the
Yes.
golf course there,
Yes,
ngapha
the golf
ngezantsi.
course, yeah.
Yeah, I know that road.
In fact, I
have
think even
driven there.
the track to Mdantsane, is it still
No,
working?
it's not.
And,
Isn't
it's-
it
Mount-
working?
Mount
Even that
Ruth.
one?
Yeah.
Is it Mount Ruth? But
Yeah, the one that
it's
goes to Mount
vandalized.
Ruth and
It's vandalized badly.
Look, the I've been that road. I've been there, Spooky. I've
haven't,
travelled,
yes.
and I mean that's one of the sides when I act. When you go to West Bank, you know, Sunny Ridge, that side actually lacks development. It's one of the beautiful
actually
sides.
used to go past there a lot when that water park, Water World, was still working.
Waterworld,
Yeah, yeah.
The one
I mean,
next to the
racetrack.
racetrack.
Yes.
Yeah.
that side. I mean, guys, even the racetrack is.
Oh my gosh.
Underutilized. That's one of the best sort of things we have
You know,
in
I was
Islam.
saying to my partner Izolo, and it's so sad that in the like mid-90s, the time Bob Mabena used to do
Yeah,
racing.
yeah.
I mean, there used to be races almost every 3 months. There used to be Ilandoza races prior. And you're like, what is so difficult in attracting Ababandu to come
Fanele we
and
have races pa intoni laa nto sidla ngosingculela pha ekta eladukeni apha ngase-ngonyama
Those
Yeah,
zintoni ezo?
quad bikes or what.
bikes.
bikes. Oh,
Yeah, we have a sort of a racetrack there, a logo in Ngola sometimes kube packed. Ingathi sometimes they have these as Landuka, as Gusheshe or something like that.
Oh, drag
Yes,
Yeah,
racing.
drag race. Yeah, so
But also, you know, where they park the cars, where they change them, that structure is still solid.
yeah. I know,
So
I've been there.
I
I've
get
been-
depressed when
Yeah.
I get so hard.
Look, there are many things that will depress you
Yeah.
about East London. In fact, not just in East London, the whole country. Recently went to Pretoria,
Yeah.
and your memory, even if you haven't been in a place in a very long time, but there are some landmarks where you think, this place was never like
be
this.
like,
Yeah,
yes.
it used to be spick and span, and then when as you drive around, you find behind the disappointment. I mean, some of the things. I mean,
the-
even the box now they're driving down. You remember in 2019 we were kind of. It was embarrassing to see them driving in some of our roads in East London, and I'm sure as they're driving, they're probably recognizing hey, this thing is still the same as it was maybe the last time. I don't know.
Potholes.
Yeah, and heavy potholes.
I mean, you've just made another point there. Besides maintenance, just keeping things clean.
Yeah.
Just clean.
Yes,
You know.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the public protector has been officially appointed. Ukoleka Gcaleka has been officially
Congratulations to colleague, is it?
Gcaleka.
Gcaleka, yeah. Congratulations to her. Look, I think I'm rooting for her.
No, me too.
I'm rooting for her because also, not just because she's young, but I think with the type of sort of negative, connotations that have been raised around about her, and all of the bad things, man. I hope that she becomes a better public protector throughout all of those, and she gets a proper team. I think that's up to her though. In terms of her, what type of a team she gets, and also that she gets to this point, actor, which I think is very important, to disassociate herself with politics, not use that platform to chase or allow herself to be influenced by politicians, because that's the
Because in
biggest
fact,
problem.
That's the very idea of having a public protector. The government and this, with its access to state machinery,
Yeah.
so there's disproportionate amount of power, which is why you need a public protector to keep them in check. Otherwise they might impose all sorts of things on citizens.
Yeah.
So it's actually critically important, the point that you are making. That's the whole idea behind having a public protector.
Yeah. I really hope she does it. I mean, I really hope she nails it.
Of course, the other
think
thing,
now-
like I said the other time, the unfortunate thing of being evaluated as a public protector is that you're evaluated against the big profile cases, whereas the
Yeah.
public protector deals with hundreds of thousands of ordinary citizens issues successfully, all the time.
Yeah, it's when the
But
politicians
it's
bring
like
you
the-
in.
It's like the 4 cases or 3 cases that are high profile that you end up being judged upon.
I think also, because of the, some sort of scrutiny that she had experienced, she is going to try by all means to prove that this is not what you think I am.
Yeah,
So I'm sure we're gonna
Look,
get
the circumstances she was acting under could not have been easy.
It
could
no,
not have been easy at
exactly.
all for anyone.
Those are the factors that
For
people
anyone,
tend to, ignore, because circumstances will also not put you in the, in the brightest light. But anyway, it is what it is. But congratulations to Gcaleka.
Yeah.
Yes, and wishing her, success during her term. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting because the 2 largest opposition parties did not support her nomination.
Yeah.
So she has a
And,
she
they
has
put-
a work cut out for her.
Yeah, and they've now put, of course, Advocate Mkhwebane in the justice cluster. So,
Yeah, so she'll have a work cut out for her.
woo, I don't envy her. That's going to be tough. But I think, though, part of what maybe she needs to do very well, as you are saying, Actor, is about guys to close on this matter. She needs to do very well the smaller Nyana cases. All the cases that come to her, she needs to, try and do those very well. And the big ones, she must not rush or take sides, irrespective of who's putting the cases on the table.
neutral.
Yeah, and I think for me, above all else, is finding a team that's going to work for her, with her, and also a team that is not, contaminated, which is difficult to find these days. Yes.
Yeah.
Most of the people are contaminated with all sorts of things when it comes to politics. Guys, the time now is 3:35. We've just run through with you the sort of current affairs that affected us this week. A lot of things. We didn't do all of them. There's quite a lot, I'm sure, in the court space. But what we'll do, we'll have. We've decided, guys, and I think it's very important to announce to all of you guys that ACTA will do one sort of legal matters every month. Will deal with whatever. I think we had suggested and I want us to maybe start with that. The master's office. What happens to those people who are deceased, the estates, and the sort of corruption that sits within that space, because we are told that there's a lot of corruption there. But I think the process is so if you have a family member or someone who's passed on and they don't have a will, how do they then go through the process? Funny enough, just on that matter as I close, there was I met a guy in Cape Town. Happy, I'm sure you know Happy. Happy used to be at Forte as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Happy is working in the justice sort of sector as well. But he tells me a story one time that when I spoke, this colleague of his, Mlungu, there's a judge, Swelekileyo. So and this Metem says, "Ish, unentloko buhlungu because this judge has passed on, and now she works apparently kule department idilishana kwezwe Provident Fund and Dondon or but she manages that space. Yabo xa uswelekile as an employee, claims zifakwa kubo and all of that. So lo madam umuntu nenhloko ebuhlungu uthi uhappy athi lo madam, hayi man, surely ijudge le, so
right,
you're not gonna have izinto zakhe zifanele bazicwalile, yabo. Uthi wabuya 2 weeks later wathi bendixelele, because apparently the judge doesn't have a will and unabantwana, besides the family unabantwana emacaleni and all of that jazz. So already ubuya isitedi frustrated. I don't know what to do.
You know what I always remind people of?
Yeah.
I always remind people that character will always trump knowledge, education, whatever you have. Your character will always trump all of those things.
Yes.
Which is why you could be a medical doctor and everything, but I would write, it's like